Okay, people. So, listen, when Signature hit me up about the new film Summit Fever, I was very intrigued, right? Because literally about I don't know 7 minute walk away from my place is one of the largest indoor rock climbing walls in London, which is great, right? The reach. And yeah, I've had some fun times, you know what I mean? Scaling those walls. Now, not trying to say I am a, you know what I mean? I ain't entering the Olympics anytime soon, but it's fun, right? It's great friggin' exercise. Trust me. So, listen, we've had a lot well, it feels like we've had a lot of rock climbing films and documentaries of late. You know what I mean? Look, we've had Dawn Wall and Free Solo, which were incredible. Incredible, right? Then we've had the films, what, The Ledge this year, Fall, right? There was also the Olympic documentary. That was this year. Yeah. The Wall, right? The Road to Tokyo. I think that's the full title. And we cannot forget Free Peaks, right? Nim's documentary from late last year, which was so friggin' good. So there's a benchmark, right? Now, the documentaries were definitely better than The Ledge and Fall. But, you know what I mean? There's these grades that we can look at, right? When it comes to these sorts of things. So, yeah, I was definitely intrigued to see what Summit Fever would be like. Now, it is written and directed by Julian Gilbey. You know, Rise of the Foot Soldiers, A Lonely Place to Die. Like, he's got there, like, you know what I mean? Look, he has done some really good films, right? So when his name's attached, there's something you can take away from that. You know what I mean? The film is produced by Andrew Loveday, right? Tyrion Hanby, Mark Goldberg, executive produced by Lee Baker, Phil Hunt, Dee Johnson, Jack Loveday, Terry Loveday, Donald Pilkington, Compton Ross, and Andrew George Southern, associate produced by John Palfrey Smith, Paul Riddle, and Tom Harbord. Line produced by Charlie Radcliffe and Sebastian Brown does some second unit stuff. Um, Music is from Michael Richard Plowman. Adam Hall handles the cinematography. Gilby and Gabriel Foster Pryor edit the piece. Belinda Norcliffe handles the casting. Jenny Ray, production design, art direction. Ali Speed and Kate Stamp, makeup and all of that jazz is Gwenelle Bedu, Ludwin Jehan, and Celine Noel. Production management, Sebastian Brown. Now, our cast, right? So Michael is played by Freddie Thorp. Isabel is played by Mathilde Warner. Michael's sister Lucy is played by Laura Ferries. Michael's best friend JP is Michel Biel. JP's friend Leo is played by Ryan Phillippe, and Leo's girlfriend Natasha is played by Hannah New. We've then got Rudy, played by Theo Christine, and his girlfriend Bay, played by Jocelyn Widow. We got JP's mother, played by Nancy Tate, and his father, played by Regis Ramil. We got Damien Roux, played by Thomas Ancora. Claude, played by Jake J. Menanin. And Tino, played by Gianmarco Sarino. So, yes, that is our cast. Pretty great cast. You know what I mean? Pretty great cast, right? Now, the gist of the film is this: a young Englishman, Michael, sets foot to the Alps to help his friend conquer the big three over a single summer: the Matterhorn, the Eiger, and Mont Blanc. Despite witnessing bloody fatalities while ascending the first two peaks, they persevere until the final climb, unaware of a deadly storm brewing on the other side of the mountain. Boy, so obviously, people, that does not bode well. Does not bode well at all. Oh, you know what I mean? So it's just like, man. Now, the thing about this film, as I said, look, we've got all of these great documentaries, you know, as our barometer for rock climbing stuff. And, you know, this is a made up story, essentially, right? Well, completely, you know, so you're thinking, can it compete with something like that? Now, people, I will tell you this. Technically, this is pretty friggin' impressive. Pretty friggin' impressive. And I think when you learn about Gilbey's like interest in mountaineering, you understand why, right? So here's a statement from the director. I've been climbing and mountaineering since 2008, but my visit to Chamonix, France in 2011 was the inspiration for Summit Fever. I was overwhelmed by the scale of the place and fascinated with the mountaineering risk-taking skiing culture that permeated from every bar and every cliff. Youngsters would risk their necks on some of the most daring climbs and off-piste skiing routes by day and party like there was no tomorrow every night. It inspired me to write the youth culture baptism of fire story, Big Wednesday mixed with quadrophenia and American graffiti, set against a backdrop of extreme mountaineering. The climbing I had seen on screens recently tended to either be very good documentaries on the sport or films like Everest, which I love, by the way. And these dealt with older characters confronting their midlife crisis on the icy slopes. Chamonix introduced me to the hard-parting rock and roll style of extreme mountaineering. And this was a side of the sport that I felt hadn't been represented much on the big or small screen. And I was determined to do it justice. The mix of excitement and drama, people were getting killed with alarming regularity when I started climbing there in 2011. And as we were filming last year, sadly, 3 climbers and 1 skier were killed in an avalanche just at the far side of the valley from our location. Boy, right? So where did I just so the mix of excitement and drama had just the right balance to create an unforgettable adventure in the French, Italian, and Swiss Alps. Because I had climbed the Eiger, Eastern Ridge, the Matterhorn, and Dent du Gant, Giant's Tooth, I had an up close and personal experience that I knew wouldn't be effectively recreated with an overabundance of green screen. I wanted to go old school and film as much as possible in camera for real. One of the reasons the action sequences in Clint Eastwood's 1970s thriller, The Eiger sanction, are still held in such high regard today is because they shot so much footage on the real mountain. We ended up filming the north face of the Eiger, Mont Blanc, and Freddie Thorp, one of our young leads, trained with me and summited the notorious Matterhorn. We had a film set on the summit at 14,692 feet above sea level, above the clouds in camera, real. The tough shooting conditions paid off in a way no amount of special effects can compete with. Nothing is as good as the real thing. Nothing. Filming at altitude is not necessarily the easiest way to make a film, but the rewards for outweighed the inconveniences. Filmmaking is tough. Filmmaking is an adventure, as it should be. The best results rarely go hand in hand with the easy approach. Summit Fever is a film 5 years in the making. I invite you to enjoy this adventure. So, just from that, right, you can tell there's a passion behind it. It's something that takes 5 years. Look, that alone, a lot of films take it's crazy how a lot of the films you love, took a long time to put together, right? And especially, recently due to lockdown and all of that kind of jazz. But the insane thing about this is they actually climbed these friggin' mountains, right? Actually climbed these mountains. There's a scene in a cave, not a set, actually was filmed in a frigging cave in a glacier, right? They had to go down one on one, had to have a small team inside because it was so like cramped. You don't do those sort of things if you're half stepping. So when you learn that they put all of that into it, I mean, you've got to take your hat off to these motherfuckers, right? You've got to do that. Like, regardless of if you liked the film or if you didn't, right? Because that's so much friggin' effort, right? That's so much passion. Listen, the stars of the film climbed the mountain. Now, Freddie Thorp, right? Good actor. Look, I'd seen him in Winx on Netflix, and that's like young adult, right? It's not made for me. So, you look at it and you think, it is what it is. When I watch this, you a whole nother level of respect for these motherfuckers, right? Because that's not just acting, that's something else. Because you're climbing mountains, and just the rock climbing I know how difficult that is, right? And that's indoors. So, like outdoors, that's even crazy. That's even like my friend she climbs, and like she fell off a fucking, mountain the other year, bruised herself up, right? The shit goes wrong. So the fact that these actors, make a good living, right? We're like, you know what? I'm willing to put it on the line to do this, to really do this role justice. There's something about that, right? And look, Freddie Thorp is young. Ryan Phillippe did the same. Ryan motherfucking Cruel Intentions Phillippe, vet of the game, he climbed those mountains too, right? All these people climb these mountains. You know what I mean? So freaking impressive. JP did it. You know what I mean? Like, the chick that played Natasha, like they all, you know, were like, yo, we gotta do this. And it it shows. You can you can kind of tell a lot. Now, not all the time, right? Because these people are skilled to do all the special effects, but there's a lot of times you can tell green screen. You know, look, you see those situations where like people are meant to be on the top of a mountain, a building, something like that, and just it doesn't. The background does not look right. Right, people driving in cars, and the stuff you're seeing in the windows just doesn't look right. Right, so you can tell a lot of the times, and in this film, when you're seeing like the wind and the snow and the rain and just all of this stuff come down on these people, it looks so real. And you're thinking to yourself, how the fuck did they do that? That looks so friggin' real. Like, oh, are they really putting these actors in those situations? Yes, yes, they did. And the film really benefits from that. Really benefits from that. Look, the story itself, it's not look, it's not Shakespeare, but it does tie into like the emotion, right? The emotion of what's going down, right? You get the vibe when hear Gilbey's statement, right? Wanting to capture this youth culture, people drinking and then doing these crazy climbs. That is palpable. You feel that coming off the screen. You know what I mean? Like these interactions between the characters, you definitely feel it. Right now, the one thing I'm a little bit dubious about, right? Michael and Mathilde, they fall in love. They fall in love in this short period of time. But it is addressed in the bar scene. I will say it's addressed in the bar scene, you know? But that's like the only kind of real crazy thing because what I mean, being around climbers, right? They will, what I mean, like people die, but they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go and do this thing, you know. And when I first started, I'm like, whoa, 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 but people died, and they're like, yeah, but it's a challenge, right? So it's this crazy thing that these people do. You know what I mean? Because like no matter how good a climber you are, there's conditions that can change everything. But they still do it. And you really, get a look into that mentality with this film. People question it, you know, like it's not all yay gang ho. There are these conversations. You know what I mean? So yeah, they Gilby does a great job of capturing that. Like a great job of putting these moments together. Him and his crew really put these moments together that make you really kind of get into the minds of these characters, like understand why they might be climbing these mountains, why they might be doing this insane shit. And if you've watched any of the documentaries, especially Nim's 14 Peaks, you kind of get that insight into um like summit fever, right? The situation where the altitude, you've been up so high for so long, you start hallucinating, right? You start just not really, acting rationally, and shit can go very, very wrong, very wrong, right? So we have all of this. All of this is there, but then we do get this thing, right? This moment where it, like, is questioned, right? Why would people do this shit? right? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? So, listen, I really enjoyed Summit Fever, people. I really friggin' did. You know, as I said, technically, this is phenomenal. It is so freaking good. So good, like just the cinematography and shots, right? You think, how did they get that? Right? The panning and just, like the people, like the accidents, just, man, it makes you fucking nervous, right? Like, you're not the one standing on top of these mountains, but you just be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know what I mean? Especially when it pans out and you just see how much space they're actually standing on. It's just like, yo, this is too insane. What if a gust of wind happens, right? What if, you know what I mean? It's just like, yo, you people be crazy. So, Liz, if you've enjoyed all of the rock climbing, mountaineering films that have been out of late, all the documentaries, all of that kind of thing, then I do feel you will want to add Summit Fever to your watch list. You know, trust me, people, you will not be let down because this is really, really bloody impressive. You know what I mean? So yeah, check out Summit Fever on all your favorite VODs. All right, go do it.